their homework here. Okay, we are on page 97, and we're looking at exercise 3. Now, for this part, it's your opinion. It says, circle the sentences that you agree with and change the sentences you disagree with. So really, this is up to your, every person will be different on these, but let me give you some examples. Like number 2, I'm against spending a lot of money during holidays or celebrations. If you agree with this, then you would circle number 2. And then if you really want to add an adverb to show that you really agree, then you can add one of those from the orange box on page 96. So you could say, I am totally against spending a lot of money during holidays or celebrations. Or you can say, I'm definitely against spending a lot of money. Okay, so those are just some suggestions. And good morning, Alan. We're on page 97.
Hi, teacher. Thank you.
And we're just checking answers. Alan, do you have any questions about the top of page 97?
97. The top, you said?
Yeah, we're looking at exercise 3.
Okay. No, I don't have questions.
Okay. Carolina, do you have any questions on page 97?
No, teacher. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, good. Then let's look at the bottom of page 97, exercise 5. It says underline the adverbs in the sentences. So for number 1, we want to underline strongly. And then when we emphasize that word, we just say it louder and slower. So we can say, I strongly believe that we should spend less time using social media. Okay, number 2, we underline absolutely. I'm absolutely convinced. Okay. Lucia, which one are we going to underline in number 3?
On page 98, teacher?
97.
Oh, we're still on 97.
Bottom of page 97, we're looking for the adverbs.
Oh, okay. I really think that we can learn a lot from other people.
What's the adverb of emphasis?
We really think.
Yeah.
I really think. Really think. I really
Okay. How can we say that with emphasis? We say really, but how do we say it with our voice to show emphasis?
maybe I completely.
Can we say I really think we say it like this? I really think we can learn a lot, or do we say I really think we can learn a lot? So I'm asking about the word really. How do we use it for emphasis? Do we say I really think, or do we say I really think?
Okay, I really think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Really. So our voice is going to go way up and way down. Really.
Okay.
Absolutely. Number 4, I completely disagree, right? So that's how we emphasize a word, is we slow the word down and we make it louder. I completely disagree. Okay, so that was exercise 5. Let's go to page 98. Exercise 6. Number 1 is going to be P, personal opinion. Okay. Number 2 is going to be O, Okay, so we're talking about information from other people. So the O means other people, and the P means a personal opinion that the speaker thinks. So number 1 is personal, number 2 is others, or O. Carolina, do you have number 3?
No, teacher.
Number 3 is personal, yeah, P. Okay, number 4, Alan, do you have number 4?
Yes, teacher. Number 4 is letter O.
Number 4 is O, that's correct. Okay, and number 5 is P again. Number 6 is O. Number 7 is P. And number 8 is O. Okay, and then exercise 7 was to use your own ideas. So any topic, any ideas that you have. Does anybody have something for number 1 that you'd like to share? Okay, does anybody have any for any of the answers that you would like to share?
Teacher, number 2, I
Mhm.
strongly believe that breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Okay, good. I strongly believe that breakfast is the most important meal. Okay, good. So what do you normally eat for breakfast, Carolina?
Oatmeal or French toast, something healthy.
Something healthy with some protein and fiber, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I eat a lot of oatmeal too. Okay, good. Anything else? Anybody can share if you need me to check an answer for you. Okay, so that was our homework, and we are pretty much done with this chapter. I'm just interested in hearing your speeches, your debate speeches. Did anybody have trouble with the Go React this weekend? Did anybody try to do their speech in Go React and then you had a problem? Let's talk about that if we need to. Any problems?
No, teacher.
Okay, so
Go there.
right, Alan and Lucia, you're going to do your speeches today. So Alan and Lucia, you do not need to do anything with Go React this week, okay? Except your lab assignment, but you do that individually. So Alan, Lucia, you do not need to record your debate, but if you do not do your speaking today, Carolina and Lon, then you guys will do it in Go React. And it looks like Lon is having connection problems. So Carolina, did you and Lon decide when and where you're going to record the speech?
Teacher, we said that we're gonna say it today here in class.
Okay. So we'll see if Lon can get her connection because right now she's getting kicked out. And actually last week in one of my classes, I got kicked out 3 or 4 times. I skipped like 15 minutes of my class and I had to use a different computer. So I don't know if that's going to happen again, but if it does and we have to just miss this class, then you guys can just record it in the Go React space in the lesson folder, okay? Sound good?
Okay,
Yes,
teacher.
teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, so why don't we just go ahead and do Lucia and Alan. I'm really excited to hear your speeches. So for Carolina, what you need to do is get a piece of paper. So those who are not speaking are going to do some writing share your feedback and comments after the speech. So what are we looking for in a debate? Anybody can help me answer this. What are some things as I'm listening? What are things that I'm listening for? Anybody know? I'll help you. I'll write it up here on the screen. As we're listening, we're looking for the main idea of both the speakers. So they don't have to talk at the same time, but eventually, you know, before the speech is over, I want to know the main idea of both of the speakers. And then I'm listening also for phrases of respectfully disagreeing. So what are some phrases? Let's review those for a second. What are some of those phrases or words we can use to respectfully disagree?
You may be right.
Yes. You may be right, or
What do you think?
yeah. Yeah, what do you think is not a way of disagreeing, but it is a polite way to have a debate. So you may be right, or I understand what you're saying, but it's another one. Something like that, okay? And then some kind of conclusion to the speech, like you guys can say, okay, well, thanks for, thanks for debating with me, or you can thank the audience, whatever you want to kind of finish. And this is very informal. Nobody's going to be perfect. I'm just interested in seeing how you guys present your ideas. And at the end, maybe we can vote on who presented the most convincing argument. So we're looking for a convincing argument. So
Okay.
that's the point of a debate, is to convince the listener to agree with you, right? So I used to hate these kind of speeches because I don't like to push people to believe anything. But it's a good thing to practice anyway. Okay, so that's kind of what me and Carolina will be looking for. And Lon, if she joins us. So we will give you guys feedback after you're done. So whenever you guys are ready, go ahead.
Okay, teacher. Alan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Our topic is, do teenagers really need a mobile phone? I'm going to give you an introduction about this debate. Is it debatable whether a teenager needs a mobile phone? But if we ask them, they could answer with no doubt that a phone is essential to their lives and social standing. And the pressure is on. Everyone at school has a cell phone nowadays. It seems that all the kids at school or in sport teams in job groups have cell phones. But before you rush to buy a new iPhone or smartphone to your teens, you must consider pros and cons.
Um,
Okay.
Hi, Lucia. I couldn't agree more uh, with your idea about children and the use of phones. It is one of the most debatable topics in our actuality. The reason of this is because all the technology development has made people to be dependent of this, inclusive, inclusive or gender people. Let's talk about advantages. Children can always be in communication with their parents. Due to the use of phone, children can always have in communication with their parents, and there are many advantages with this. Well, to make it clear, um, let's give an example. For example, let's think about a child forgot homework at home. You know it often happens with teenagers or children. And well, what if we have a phone? What if the children have a phone? Well, they can call their parents and tell if there is a possibility to have the homework, or maybe if something wrong happened at school, they can just use the phone and call them. The parents can always know what's going on with their children. Another advantage is that the children have a huge access to learning resources. The people who lived in a time in what the technology wasn't an easy resource uh, can tell us how difficult was trying to find or learn something.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I totally agree that cell phones can be a great tool for parents to stay in touch with their teens and monitoring their activities. Can also be a vital means for teens to contact parents and authorities in emergencies. But unfortunately, without proper supervision and responsible use, they can also have costly and sometimes permanent consequences. Let me tell you something. We are living in a world filled with distractions everywhere you turn. To have cell phone and access to the internet these days, it's quite common to find students dividing their attention between texting, checking social media websites, and surfing the internet while doing homework or studying for their exams. While a smartphone may seem like a great gift, it is actually, I really think that it is actually a present that can lower their grades, um, alter their brains, reduce their sleep, put them at risk of anxiety. Cellular phones also can cause depression, cyberbullying, um, exposure to porn. This is really, really, really dangerous for teens. And in some cases, maybe this technology can cause suicides. This is
Um,
my opinion.
well, let's talk about another advantage. What about if our teenagers has an emergency? If a teenager has a smartphone on their person, they can use it to call for help if they find themselves in a problems in potentially dangerous circumstances, such as being stranded somewhere. Having a phone could be a lifesaver in, in many cases.
Okay, that's definitely right. But we cannot lose sight of uh, phones or smartphones are very expensive also, because most teenagers are always on the lookout for the newest phone and phone accessories. Another disadvantage is teens are more likely to respond calls, phone calls, and text while driving. As we know, this is really dangerous. For healthy, the nervous systems of teens are still developing and have a greater risk of developing brain cancer. Some research shows this kind of problems on health. So, in my opinion, I want to conclude. We are completely agree that having a cell phone has many advantages, but we need to teach our teens, I don't know, all about mobile phones, how to be responsible using of this.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with you. My conclusion, what I can say, is that the use of cell phone has been acceptable for teenagers, and it is because there are many more advantages than disadvantages, I think.
English teacher.
Teacher, your microphone is off.
Oh my gosh, I just want to give you a big clap. That was really, really good. That was almost 8 minutes, but it went by so fast. Did you guys practice before? Because it just sounded so good.
Yeah, we did.
Wow. I'm so proud of you. I mean, this was like really, really, you just like you went beyond my expectations. And look at all of the notes that I have. It's like a whole page of notes of all the information. You guys had a lot of information. Um, so how did you guys feel about it? Did you enjoy doing this activity or, what do you think?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was like I was a little nervous because it was a different kind of speech. You needed to have like interaction with a partner, and you we practiced, but we didn't know what Lucia gonna say exactly, and
Yeah.
it's kind of difficult to maybe sometimes to have like a conversation, and it was a little bit difficult.
Yeah. Okay, what
Yeah,
about you, Lucia? Did you enjoy that?
yes, I really enjoyed it. It was um, a good challenge for me to work with Alan because he speaks English very good, very good, very good.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I am very nervous now, but this topic uh, it's interesting. I
Yeah.
learned, I really learned many things about the use of cell phone. Yeah, it's important to check information, to get information. I'm sorry, to get information, and that's great. I'm happy. I feel happy.
Okay, great. Well, I like that you guys chose a topic that you were interested in, and that you chose one of the biggest, I could say, the hottest topics in our society these days is the use of cell phones and teenagers and so I think you chose a really good topic. It has really good uh, sides of the opinions on both sides. Like both are very compelling and good points shared. So I want to go to Carolina next. So Carolina, can you tell me just what are your thoughts? If you have any comments or you want to just summarize, like what is each of their point of view? And maybe you can tell us one thing that you liked or a suggestion. Go ahead.
So the main idea was that Lucia wasn't agree about teenagers having phone, and Alan was agree. And they give disagreeing ideas. Like I heard Alan say, "I couldn't agree more," and then he gave his opinion, and then Lucia say, "I'm sorry for interrupt you. I really like that." And
Yeah.
Alan gives some points. Like he said, it could be a lifesaver, or it could be used when you're on an emergency. You can communicate with your parents, and Lucia said it's a distraction because you text or social media, and she said about cyberbullying, and then she said that it was expensive having phones. And
Yeah.
then in their conclusion, Lucia said that we should be aware of our teens, that they're using phones responsible. And Alan said it has more advantages to have phones.
Right, there were more advantages. Okay, so Carolina, in your own opinion, which argument do you think was the strongest or had the most convincing arguments to you?
Teacher, actually, we have the same topic in our debate. So I strongly believe that I am agreed that teenagers should use cell phones.
Okay, so you agree with Alan. Agree with Alan. Okay. Yeah, I think, and this is one thing we can even discuss a little bit more too. I think Alan's strongest point was that cell phones are important for teenagers to call their parents in emergencies. To me, that was his strongest point. Although he shared other things like use it for homework, um, you know, he said communicate with parents. But I think his strongest point was that teenagers need to have it to use in emergencies. And Lucia's strongest point to me was that teenagers can't, like, their brains are still developing, so their mental health can really be affected by the cell phone use because they don't have the ability to stop and say, hey, you know what, I've been using this too much, or I need to put my phone down, I don't need to go to that website. They're still developing, so that it's harder for them to have self-control, and that can affect their mental health and that sort of thing. So for me, those were the most convincing arguments. And I have a teenager at home, and of course he wants to have a cell phone, but I believe that he doesn't need one probably until he's a senior in high school, like about to graduate. But what we do have, see, I found a solution. We have a phone that does not have internet access, and he can only use it for calling. And there is a way you can text with it, but that is what we use. And they have those prepaid phones. I think that's a good suggestion for people who are taking this topic seriously. They have those prepaid phones you can load with minutes, and then just, not have any internet access on it. So that's my opinion about you guys' speeches. I thought it was great. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about pronunciation and grammar, sentence structure stuff. So first of all, Carolina, you said Lucia wasn't agree. We need to be careful about agree, especially for my Spanish speakers. Agree is a verb. So we do not need to put the be verb in front of it. Like, for example, I was agree. We don't put the be verb. We do not say I am agree, I was agree, because agree is a verb. And if you remember, yeah, agree is a verb. So this is different from Spanish. In Spanish, you use like estar with acuerdo, right?
Yeah.
So acuerdo, él estaba acuerdo, or whatever. I don't know how you say it, but in English, we don't have those two words. We don't have the be verb and a past participle. We just have one word, agree. So the past would be I agreed. The negative, I don't agree, or you in the past, I didn't agree. Okay, so all of you can benefit from that. And so Lucia, you said at the end of your speech, you said we are completely agree or something like that. We need to say we completely agree.
Oh, yes, teacher, you're right.
Yeah, we completely agree. Yeah. Okay, so that's one point I wanted to make. And then I don't know if it was the reception problem because Lucia, it was a little bit hard to hear you at some of the points of your speech. I think it was your voice was kind of cutting out. So the very beginning you said, do teenagers really need and I couldn't hear that word. So I wrote it and then I put a blank there and question mark. But then you said again, yeah, they need, or you said they don't need a mobile phone. So then I knew, okay. So I got your main idea, but it took me a little while because of the reception. But you said, Lucia, at the beginning, you said you must consider something, and I didn't hear that word. What was that word?
That you must consider pros, the next pros and cons.
Oh, pros.
Pros and cons.
Yeah, pros is not a word. Pros and cons. Okay, good. So that was one word to help you with. So you're going to say pros.
Pros, yeah.
Okay. The other one, I'm moving down on the speech order here. Alan, you said dependent of, and it needs to be dependent on. So on is a preposition that goes with depend. They're just like matched together. So I depend on my parents. Okay. And then, let's see, what was the other one? Oh, yeah, Lucia, you said suicide. I think you said suicide, but it's suicide. Let me type the word.
Okay. Okay, suicide.
Suicide. Right. So think of side like my side, left side, right side. That's the pronunciation for that one.
Okay, teacher, thank you.
And another word for you, Lucia, is accessories. At the end of your speech, you said something, teenagers or something, I don't remember, but you said the word it needs to be accessories, accessories.
Okay, yes.
And I think that's how you spell it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, accessories. And then one more suggestion I would give to Alan, after Lucia talked about cell phones are bad for their health. It causes anxiety. There's bullying. And then she said the suicide. After that, Alan, you came in and you said, let's talk about, and that was good, but I would have given a counter argument at that point. I would have said, all right, Lucia, you're right. You have a lot of good points. You shared, or you can say, I agree that for some teenagers, it can be bad for their health or blah, 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 whatever. So a little counter argument would have been good there. And then you could say, let's talk about something like, and then you mentioned it was an emergency.
Oh, okay.
Emergency, yeah. So that was a good place for a counter argument. Now, Lucia did a counter argument. She said, I totally agree. So that was good. So at least you guys had one in there, which is what I asked for. So you guys did that. So that was just my suggestion, to have one more counter argument. And that's it. That's all my notes. I am just so proud of you guys. Super proud. I mean, that was
Thank you,
excellent.
teacher.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay, so anybody else have comments or questions about that speech? Okay, now Lon, can you hear us? I know you've been in and out of this of this meeting all day. Can you hear us?
Yes, sorry, today my Wi-Fi is not good. So
Yeah.
check in now, loud and down.
I know, I feel so bad because I mean you heard part of the speech, but you didn't hear all of it. And how do you feel about doing your speech in class? Do you think that your reception is good enough, or would you rather wait and do it and go react? What do you think?
I always like to do in class.
Okay. Okay, well, we can give it a good try, and then if you
Yes,
get connected, it's not a big deal. Don't feel bad.
yes.
We'll just do something else. Yeah, I was telling the class earlier that I got kicked out of my class 3 times last week, and I had to change computers. So it happens to everybody. So don't worry about that.
Thank you.
Okay, so Carolina and Lon, if you guys are ready, let's get started with that. Alan and Lucia, it's your turn to take notes. And remember, we're looking for the main idea of both speakers. We're looking for any counter arguments or politely disagreeing statements, and then some type of conclusion at the end. And then at the end, I'm going to ask Alan and Lucia who you thought gave the most convincing argument. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so let's go ahead and start. Lon and Carolina.
Yes. Today our assignment to discuss about teenagers should use cell phone or not.
I think that teenagers should use cell phones because they are not kids anymore. They are mature enough, so the using can be responsible. But what's your opinion, Len?
You might be right, but if teenagers have cell phone with the internet, they can be exposed to cyberbullying, and I strongly believe that happens many times in the schools.
I see your point, but with the correct use of cell phones, they are aware that there is cyberbullying and know how to prevent a situation like that. On the plus side, I think that there is a lot of danger on the streets nowadays. So if they have a cell phone, it could be a lot of help if they are at risk. They are a call away in case of an emergency.
Sorry, I don't agree, because I had a few times to see teenagers were texting while they were biking. This is so dangerous. And on the other hand, I also know that constant availability to in the internet, like movie, YouTube, could have a negative effect on their grades.
I totally agree with you on that. But with the parents monitoring them, making sure they are giving it the right use, I don't think there could be a negative effect or affect their grades. Besides that, teenagers can use cell phones as a learning tool. For example, the Translator app or YouTube has many educational videos.
Sorry to interrupt you, but it's absolutely not true because it's the time they should do homework or do routine to help their parent, and they just spend time on the internet to play game or do something not good. For example, my nieces and nephew, their parents have busy all day and they don't have time to take care for their children. So my nieces and nephew just spend too much time on the cell phones and play game after school. Instead, they should do homework.
It seems to me that we're not going to agree on this. So everybody should do what they think is best for their team.
Yeah,
Finished or no?
yeah, finished.
Yes, teacher.
Just not long.
Oh my gosh, I really like that conclusion. It seems like we're not going to agree, but every parent should do what's best. I really like that conclusion, Carolina. Great job, ladies. Did y'all practice before? Because it sounds like you did.
Yes.
Yeah, we have some practice yesterday.
Oh, I'm so happy that you got that time to practice. That was really good. Um, how did you two ladies feel about doing this assignment? Was it, do you think it helped you or was it difficult? What do you think about it?
Well, it's me. I love that. That I have a chance to rest it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with myself and with the partner. And I really like that. I hope in the future I can have many time to do like this.
Okay, good. And what about you, Carolina? Did you enjoy this assignment?
Yes, teacher. I really liked. I think it's a good practice.
Okay. Well, great. I'm super impressed with you too. You did a lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, switching, which is really hard to do because you have to keep track of all your ideas and kind of know when the other person is going to stop and when you can share. But I heard you guys giving a lot of counter arguments, and you also did a lot of politely disagreeing and interrupting. So you practiced all of those things that we talked about. It was really good. Before I go through my notes, I want to see what Alan and Lucia think. Let's start with you, Alan. Tell us what are your thoughts about the speech? Like, what was the main idea? What did you like? Give us your comments.
Well, they did great. They had a fluently conversation.
Yeah, a fluent
Um,
conversation.
yeah, fluent conversation. Well, the topic was the same: the use of phone in children,
Yeah.
and they had some counter arguments. I heard Nan said twice, "Sorry, I don't agree," and the other one was, "Sorry for interrupt," but.
Mhm.
And Carolina said, "I'm totally agree, but," and she said the point.
Yeah.
Um, Carolina is agree about uh, the use of phones,
Carolina
and
agrees.
Carolina, how can I say
Agrees.
Carolina? How
No,
can I
no,
say
it is.
Carolina agrees?
Yeah.
Okay. Carolina agrees about the use of phones and teenagers, and Lan disagree
Yes.
disagrees.
Yeah, good. I know it's hard. Your brain is like,
Yeah.
no, don't say it. Don't say it.
Yeah. Okay. Lan disagrees about the use of phones.
Mhm.
At the point of Carolina, she said that teenagers should use it, but with responsibility. Um, because she also said that they can use the phone to call their parents. They can use the phone to learn. And the last point that was very good is that every parent should do what they think is the best.
Mhm.
Um, the the points on the other side, Lan say that a phone expose uh, teenagers to cyberbullying, and that also it has a negative use.
Mhm.
They can do a negative use of phones, and also that they spend many time like doing nothing. They don't use their phone to do homework.
Mhm.
They Yeah, that's what I have.
Great, great. Very good notes there. Okay, and one more question for you, Alan, and then we'll talk to Lucia. Alan, who do you think made the strongest point?
I think Carolina, the last point was the strongest point, that every parent should do what they think is the best, I think.
Okay, so you agree with Carolina. Now, isn't that interesting because that was also your opinion in your speech?
Yeah.
And Carolina also agrees with you that you made the strongest point.
You're the good side, Carolina.
That's funny. Okay, Lucia, tell me your thoughts about their speech.
Okay. I agree with Alan.
Mhm.
They sound like they were in a really debate. It was
Mhm.
great for me too. And the topic was clear. And well, then used totally believe, or they use totally believe. I think that. Sorry, I don't agree.
Mhm.
I totally agree. Okay, they used um, these phrases.
Mhm.
And finally, I think both sounds convinced.
Both are convincing.
Both are convincing. Yeah, for me.
Okay, both points of views were convincing. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, good job there on taking notes. Um, okay, so let me go through a couple of suggestions that I would give and some pronunciation tips for you guys. We already talked about the agree, that we do not use the be verb before agree. So starting with Lan, the very first thing you said we're going to discuss about teenagers should use cell phones or not. What we need to do is we are going to discuss whether teenagers should use cell phones or not. I'm going to type that up here. Okay, so the point comes with the word discuss. Now we can use discuss about. When you discuss something, you always discuss about something. So you don't really need to use about. You can just say, we are going to discuss the topic. We're going to discuss what to eat for dinner. We're going to discuss, and then we put the thing right after that. So the reason I want you to use whether here is because at the end you said or not. So whether is a word that we use to show choice. Like I can say, whether I go to California for a vacation or Florida doesn't matter to me. So we're always giving like two things, like a choice. So using whether goes really well when you have two things. Teenagers should use cell phones or teenagers should not use cell phones. We have two things and you have the words or not. So we just need to put that word whether right there. So that's my first suggestion. And then line for pronunciation, your first point, I would say bullying.
Bullying.
Yeah. Bullying.
Bullying.
And Alan earlier said, I don't know if he said cyber or what, but it's cyber bullying. Cyber, even though it has a Y.
Yeah, it's a Tiver.
Yeah. You did a little Spanish switch on me there, but don't worry,
Yeah.
I'll always catch that Spanish there. So cyberbullying. And then another thing you said, Lon, you said, I have a few time to see. I think you were giving an example about somebody in your family. We don't need to say, I have a few time to see. We can just say, I saw, or you can use have seen something a few times. So you can say, I've seen teenagers using cell phones in an unhealthy way a few times. Or I've seen some of my relatives using cell phones a few times. Something like that. So we don't need to say, I have a few times. Few goes with times. Because time is, in this sentence, would be a countdown. Yeah, so we're going to put it like that. Okay, and then, okay, so Carolina talked about using phones for learning and parental oversight, like parents kind of watching them while they're using the phone. And then at the end, Lon, you said parents have busy. And we need to say parents are busy. And then to take care of. Parents are too busy, or parents are busy and they don't take care of their kids. So those are a few of the corrections there. And yeah, that was good. Carolina, I don't really have many corrections for your speaking. I think the only one was the I am agree, or I was agree part, but we talked about that. So good job, everybody. Any questions or comments about the speech?
No.
No.
Okay, everybody did great with this. So we're going to do one last practice activity, and I'll give you the answers so you won't have homework. And then you guys know that Wednesday is our last day of class, and I'm not planning on doing a lesson, but I will be available if somebody wants to come to collaborate, and if you want to do, I don't know, just talk about something, we can do that on Wednesday, okay? But I don't have any more lessons or anything for you guys after today. So just real quick, the things coming up this week is you still need to do Everyone needs to do a lab assignment. It's your choice what you want to do. So it's our last lab assignment. That is due by Wednesday night. And then you have your chapter 4 quiz, and that's also due by Wednesday night. Okay, so got a couple of days to work on that. And that's really all we have left in this class. My goal is to have all your grades posted by 5 p.m. on Thursday. So you can check your grades and then let me know if you have questions or concerns. Friday, I don't think you'll be able to get into Blackboard to look at anything. I think Thursday is the last day that you can get into Blackboard. So I want everything turned in by Wednesday night so that I have time to grade it and post it in Blackboard for you. Okay, so let's do a fun listening activity and a little discussion before we go today. Look at page 100. Everybody get your books and let's look at page 100.
Teacher, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. How the online workbook? We still use them on the time break, or that's closed on the online workbook?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me check for you real quick. I've got it open here. So I'm going to check and see when it expires.
I hope it's open on the right time.
Yeah, I do too. Let me see what it says about the class. I don't see it here. I don't know. I'll have to check because, oh, here it is. Class expires. That means the class online workbook is over in December of 2021. So you have a year and a month. You got 13.
Yes.
I think that should be enough time, right?
Yeah, good.
That's what mine says. Now, I don't know if they have a limit on your, like when you guys bought your product, if they give you a 1-year time limit or not. But mine says the class expires in 2021, December 31st. So hopefully you'll have at least until January.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Good.
you can, yeah, feel free to keep working in the online workbook and do the listening activities.
Okay.
Okay, so page 100, we're going to talk about culture shock. Culture shock. Now, all of you have experienced culture shock. So how do I know that? Because you did not grow up here in North Texas. You grew up in another place and then you moved here. So anytime you move to a new place, you experience a culture shock. Now, it is possible also to have culture shock in your own country. If you move, let's say I moved from Texas to New York, there's going to be some culture shock that I experience. So culture shock does not always mean only when you move to another country or where there's another language. Okay, but it's basically my definition of culture shock. It's a process of adjusting to a new place. Sometimes you're adjusting to the language. Sometimes you're adjusting to the customs or traditions. Sometimes you're adjusting to different kinds of food that you're not used to eating. I tell my students this, I think I've told you guys before, when I went to Mexico for a month, I gained between 10 and 15 pounds in just 1 month. And that was because all the food was kind of different. I didn't have my own food that I'm used to eating. We had a lot of fried chicken, and every single time I would get in my friend's car and we would go somewhere, we always stopped at a little convenience store and everybody got out and got chips and Coke and drink. I'm like, why? Why are you guys always getting all these snacks? But that was part of the town that I stayed in. Everybody gets snacks all the time.
Yeah, that's culture on Mexico because in my town we used to do that too.
Oh, you did too. So, and which town did you grow up in, Alan?
I grew up. The name of the town is Rio Grande. Zacatecas is the state,
Oh,
the north. Yeah,
Zacatecas.
yeah,
Is that is that close to Coahuila or is that another?
yeah. That's close to Coahuila.
Okay, so it's kind of like central or northern part of Mexico.
Yeah, it's part of the north and center. I
Okay.
think it's the center of the country.
Yeah, I need to look at my map again, but and I do know that different parts of countries have different food and traditions and all that. So just because I went to Mexico and we ate fried chicken doesn't mean all of Mexico is like that. Um, and I know that too, but where I went, I experienced culture shock with the food, the language, of some of the customs. They did not have air conditioning in the house that I stayed in, and I went in the summer. So I had a shock with temperature. And actually, when I went back to the United States side, it took me 3 days. I basically slept for 3 days because I was so exhausted with the heat. So I'm just thinking of my experiences. But you guys, I want to hear from you guys in a minute some of the culture shock that you went through. And maybe you're still going through it now, right? How long does it take for a person to stop the culture shock process? What do you guys think? How long does culture shock happen? What do you guys think?
Well, cultural shock, I think, is one of the most difficult process you need to pass when you moved here. I
Yeah.
still have some things that I said like, "Whoa, does it happen here?" But most of the things that I released happen here is uh, about like not children, teenagers, like people around my age,
Yeah.
how they like, how is this the friendship, can I say that friendship, or like uh, like the relation between them is different than in Mexico. We're closer with friends, and we are always together. And I think it doesn't happen here. I mean, maybe, but like everyone is in their houses and they text each other here. But in Mexico, we don't do that. Like we if you go to school, you can like just walk to your friend house if
Yeah.
if it's near. Um, well, it is maybe because I grew up in a town
Yeah.
and not in a big city. Um, but it happened. You can like just go out of your home and walk to your friend's house, and well, those things like the relations, the friendship here, it's
Mhm.
different than in Mexico. I think it is one of the most shocks I got here.
Yeah. One of the biggest shocks, the most difficult part of the culture shock for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a really good example. Everybody experiences culture shock in a different way because you come from a different town or, way of living. So the way that you used to live is going to affect your new way of living. So it will be different, a little bit different for everybody. But what might be encouraging to you guys, if you do a Google search on stages of culture shock, you will actually find that there are, I believe, 5 or 6 stages that psychologists have studied, and most people go through these 5 stages. One of the first ones is like excitement, everything's new, you're having a good wow, but right after that is a stage of, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? I want to go back. So the first couple of stages are really difficult. But it takes my opinion, it takes about a year to 3 years to fully get through the stages of culture shock. So, Alan, how long have you been in the United States? Has it been about a year?
Yeah, 1 year. I think need 2 more.
Well, some people can go through it faster. So you might be, who knows, maybe another 3 or 4 months and
Yeah, maybe. I'm more comfortable than the first days.
yeah. So it definitely gets easier as you're getting closer 1 year to 3 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the final stage, just so you know, you can be looking for this final stage. The last stage is the adjustment and the acceptance stage. So what that means is that you have adjusted where you need to adjust, and you've accepted what you need to accept in order to live here. So you kind of just get to a place of being at peace. It's like, okay, so it's not Mexico. I'm not in Mexico anymore, and I don't have to try to make this the same place. I'm going to take the good from this culture and enjoy it, and you kind of just accept it. And also, when you find work or you find something to do with your life here, that also helps you get to that stage of acceptance because you feel like you're a part of this culture. So that is really the last stage of culture shock. So be looking for that. Try to, get to that point.
Yes.
That's kind of the goal for everybody. I never quite got to that point when I went to Mexico, but I was there 1 month. I was still in the beginning stages. Okay, good. So who else wants to share a little bit about your experience with culture shock before we do some listening? Anybody else want to share?
I want to share some different from here in my country.
Okay.
Yes. The culture shock with me is when I came here, I saw different between the children within my country.
Yeah.
Like yes, like I heard some people said that when their children have beat meted, they beat their children, and the children call the police.
Oh.
Yes. in my that made me shocked. Yes, but in my country, the children depend on their parents until they're 30 or 40
Yeah.
or
Oh.
older. Yes. Until they have the job and can earn money to live by themselves. But if they want to marry with people, they have to ask the parents. Like if the parents know that different religion or different something that's not good with them, they just say no, and they don't get married with that person. But
Right.
in here, no, yes. And in my country, parents always beat the children if they had meetings. And I never call the police. Police don't come about that problem. That problem.
Oh, so Vietnam, the parents beat the kids, no problems.
Yeah, yeah. That's different. The big difference here in my country that the culture shock with me.
Okay. So along that same note, did you notice a big difference between the respect that children have for their parents? Is it different here?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yes, a lot of, I mean, I've noticed this too about our culture. And I even joke with my kids about it. I'm like, sometimes I tell my kids, I'm like, if y'all don't clean your room, CPS is going to come and get you and take you to another home because I'm not being a good parent. I, no joke. I have two boys and they share a room, and they had beds a few years. We cleaned it since then, but they had these beds, and along the wall, it was like brown. All their, their dirty hands. But when you move the bed, it's like white. The
Yeah.
wall is white because their bed blocked that space. So it was like brown dirt on the walls. I was like, if we don't clean this, CPS is coming. CPS is Child Protective Services. They can take your kids away if they feel like you're not fit or you're not able to be a good parent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of scary. It's always like in the back of my mind. I'm like, ah. So, but so children have rights and protection in this country. It doesn't mean that you can't, in this country, it doesn't mean you cannot spank your kids or discipline them, because you can, but there's a limit, and it's hard to know exactly what that limit is. Like if your child has marks on their arm, from whipping them or something, that might be too much. So yeah, that was a big shock for you, Lan. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, we have time maybe for one more person. Does anybody want to share part of your culture shock experience? Anybody else before we do the listening? Okay, so let's look at page 100 and look at the box at the top. It says classes, cultural behavior, food, language, and weather. Why don't you circle which ones as a student have had problems with? Have you had problems with classes or cultural behavior or the food in this part of the country? Circle which ones you have had problems with adjusting to. And then we're going to do some listening, and we're going to listen to 3 students who are experiencing culture shock. Okay, so is everybody ready for the listening part? Any questions before we start?
No, teacher.
Okay, good. So we're going to listen one time and then answer section 3 where it has questions 1 through 5. So we'll see if we can answer those after we listen.
Alicia.
Okay, you guys hear that?
Yes.
Yes, I hear that.
Everybody heard it. Okay, all right, here we go. It's going to be about a minute and a half.
Alicia.
My first semester at the university was very difficult. I couldn't understand anything. And the worst thing was I couldn't speak. So often I knew the answer, but I couldn't say it fast enough. I felt so stupid. I was a good student at home, and I could always answer the teacher's questions. I was very frustrated, and I wanted to go home. My English classes were very helpful. I learned some strategies for taking notes and studying, and bit by bit, I began to understand more. It just got better after that.
John, my problem was the food. I really didn't like anything. It was all too sweet and there was cheese on everything. I hate cheese. So for the first couple of weeks I didn't eat very much. And then I got sick. It was awful. But then some friends showed me a cheap restaurant near the campus where I could get Chinese food. I was so happy when I found food I could eat. I've gotten more used to American food now, but I still go there a lot. Min. I was the only international student in my dorm, and everybody else was American. They were always very friendly, but I found it hard to understand if they were really friends. They'd say, "Let's get together sometime," but then they'd never call. I couldn't understand why they did that. Later, I realized they weren't really inviting me. It's just the culture. They were just being polite.
Okay, I'll give you a minute and let's see how many questions you can answer on section 3 of page 100. Give you a minute to work on that. Okay, it's okay if you only one or two of these answers. Let's talk about the 3 students and the type of culture shock that they experienced. So let's look at Alicia first. And Lucia, can you tell me what was Alicia's problem?
Alicia's problem was she couldn't understand anything.
Yeah, so her problem was the language.
The language, yeah.
Okay, and what about number 2? She said in her English classes, Alicia learned how to what?
How to study and take notes.
Yeah, she learned how to study English better, and
Yeah.
that helped her later to speak English better. Yeah, so I would circle C. Good job. Okay, Carolina, what about number 3? What about John? What was his problem with the culture shock?
He feel like the food.
Yeah, the food was the problem. Okay, so number 3, why didn't he like the food?
I don't know. It was too unhealthy.
Yeah, he talked about it being too sweet, too much cheese.
Yeah.
So I think actually you could circle all of these.
Okay.
I circled A because that was kind of the end result of the food problem. He just didn't eat it because it was too sweet, too much cheese, and it made him sick. Okay, good. So that was, and then John for number 4, Carolina, it says now John, what?
Still eats Chinese food.
Yeah, still eats Chinese. Okay, and Lan, can you help us with Min for number 5? Min thought that Americans, what?
Yeah, Americans is too difficult to understand. He did not mean what they said. It did
Yeah,
not mean what he said.
the Americans didn't mean what they said. Okay, and this is, all of these kinds of culture shock experiences are very true and real. A lot of times Americans will say, "Yeah, okay, I'll see you later. Yeah, let's get together," and you might never hear from them again.
Yes.
Yeah, but if that happens to you, don't take it personal because we kind of do that with everybody. It doesn't mean that we're thinking, "Oh, I just want this person to get out of my life." We don't think that, but we just get busy doing so many things, have so many people that we don't have time to spend with everybody.
Yeah.
I do that even to people, and I don't want to, but I can't fit everybody in my life. So okay. Um, so let's talk about solutions, and then we'll be done for today. How did the students manage their culture shock? Let's talk about some advice or solutions for culture shock. Why don't we go to, who's that? Lucia. Lucia, can you tell us some of the ways you remember? How did the students resolve their culture shock problems?
Um, in the conversation, teacher, in my opinion.
I can do both, just one of those, whatever you want.
Okay, in my opinion, I consider if we are going to travel to another country, we need to invest to get information about how they live, about the food, about the culture in general, and this kind of information that will help you in order to don't feel bad if you don't receive an answer soon, or if you, or I don't know. Also, you can talk with a person that that for example in internet you can write a question. Hey, how can I do if I am going to travel to, I don't know, Spain or Italy or this kind of countries? And people answer you, hey, maybe you can visit this place. Hey, you can, or you are going to spend this quantity, or some specific tips that people can send us that help that help us to travel to other countries. We need to check.
Yeah, those are some good ideas. So try to do some research and find out more about the country or place before you go there. Ask the question, like, what do I need to know about the United States? What do I need to know about the place? And let people who live there give you some answers. There's some good points. Okay, Ellen, do you want to share anything? Either from the or from your own place? Yeah, go ahead.
No, well, I think they like, for example, Alicia, she did what I'm trying to do. She fixed the her problem about English, studying English. Also, well, I think he's Chinese. He fixed it like each student fixed their problem with the correct situation. They could figure it out, and I think it is the best for all people who move to this country or other country different than their countries,
Yeah.
we always need to look solution, not close our mind.
Yeah, that's a good point. So keep an open mind and look for solutions that fit your specific situation. Yeah. That's good, guys. I feel like we're in some type of counseling psychology class right now or something. Well, we're going to stop here for today. If you want, you can take a look at page 101. Yeah, and you can see there, they'll have some more suggestions for you. Like, try not to judge the new culture or the people. Keep yourself in shape. Nobody talked about that yet. Take walks, exercise, right? Be healthy. That will help you adjust to the new culture as well. So they have some good suggestions over there. And we are done with chapter 4, and we're actually done with our class. So really, the only things you need to do are the lab assignment and the quiz. So there's no class session on Wednesday, so I'm not going to be teaching or sharing any new information on Wednesday, but I will be available if anybody wants to just log in around 9:30, 9:45. If you have questions or you want to discuss something or classes, what classes to take, any type of questions you have, I will be available there. If nobody comes to the collaborate session on Wednesday, then I will just log out and continue grading work. So so that is an option. Wednesday, you can just do some question discussion with me. But your only work to do is your lab assignment, and you're going to do it like we've always done it. You record a video and you turn in your written worksheet in the Word document. You can email that to me. And I want you to do your chapter 4 test, okay? And these are all due by Wednesday at the end of the day. So Wednesday night, okay? Anybody have questions?
Teacher, at the beginning of the class, you told us that Goriac is having problems because I didn't try this weekend to use
Okay.
Goriac. If we cannot upload our video in Goriac, I don't know if we can send you by email or by another way.
Okay, the GoReact should be working correctly.